Hello and welcome back to the Spin the Rock podcast. I'm your host, Angel, and with me today is my co-host.
Vaughn, and only Vaughn today.
Only Vaughn today, but that's okay because we have a decent amount of news and of course our tier list that is a wee bit late, but only a couple games have been played, so it's not like our opinions have changed that much. Starting off with injury news, DeJounte Murray has a broken hand. I think he will be out. I
I
think it
think
would be
it's 4 to 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Yeah, I was gonna
Could be,
say
yeah.
4 to 6 weeks. How do you feel about this, Vaughn?
I was excited to see this new look Pelicans because I think DeJounte Murray could add a lot, not just offense and defensively, but also not a huge loss because I think you would want an injury like this at the very beginning because they're basically going to be the Pelicans from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you got CJ at the point guard instead of DeJounte Murray. No Jonas Valanciunas, but they have, I think, Daniel Tice playing center. So I think they'll be fine. Like they have a lot of depth. I think at some points their depth is their issue because they don't play enough guys enough minutes. But in a way, this works out for some of them, like Jordan Hawkins or Trey Murphy. So,
Yeah, yeah. I do have to agree. It's better that it happened now than later in the season. Um, we'll just have to wait to see what the new Pelicans really actually look like. But I feel like I'm excited for them.
I mean, they're
Um,
doing fine. Brandon Ingram, game winner already. Like I'm here for it.
yeah, I'm excited for them. And if Dejounte Murray does fit in, you know, I think it's good that this it's not good, but at least it's not All-Star break, almost playoff time. They still have a lot of time to figure themselves out. And then same thing for Isaiah Hartenstein, hand injury. I think his though is 5 to 6 for some reason. I don't know what makes his uh you know have such a more narrow time frame. Again, how do you feel about this, Vaughn?
You know, the Thunder don't seem phased by it because not only are they winning games early in this season, they're like dominating. They're very good still. Which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of surprising to me because Isaiah Hartenstein was their backup center, and Chet Holmgren is like all center all the time. He don't look tired out there. I don't know how they hide the fact they don't have a backup center right now. It's kind of crazy. It's just not fair. It's not fair because they're so young and they're all just like so good, not just like individually, but as a team. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I would be worried if it wasn't the Thunder. If it was any other team, I'd be like, oh no, no backup center. But bro, they're such a versatile team. Almost anyone can play any position. It's kind of insane. So I feel like they should be fine. And also, like you said, Vaughn, it's not even it's noticeable at all. You can't even tell. You hear me?
I hear you now. Yeah.
It just more so sucks for him, because this was a good chance to prove himself. After coming off the Knicks insane season, all of them wanted him back. But you know what? I feel like the Thunder will be fine, and if anything, he should be fine. He'll come back, probably be welcomed, probably get
Yeah.
right away.
Like it really feels like uh, an extra pillow on this bed they have. Like you could, with him back, he could play starting center, Chet at the four, or he plays defensive schemes with like the backup unit. It's just like they don't need him,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely like good padding to have. So
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy that this guy who was a very key piece to the Knicks last year is kind of just like not window dressing, but just additional.
All right, moving on. Embiid. I don't know what's going on with these teams. we got some Clipper drama and some 76ers drama. But starting with Embiid, basically snitching him on himself in a podcast. Dirty work, low key. He basically said, I'm not playing any back to backs this season. I need to be healthy so we can go further in the playoffs. And then, like, not even like what, a week, maybe even half a week later, the NBA announces they're investigating Philadelphia. How do you feel about this, Vaughn?
I think he said that not just for this season, but for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. And you didn't need to admit that, you know? Like, the Sixers health organization could have, like, made something up, like, oh, knee soreness. We're going to
Yeah.
have him out just back to back. No, he just, as you said, he snitched on himself completely. So, it's so dumb. Like, for what? Like, for some sort of, like, misery clout? Like, I don't know what it was for. Um, but yeah, like, this not only affects, like, short-term things, like my personal standings where I expected the Sixers to be at the end of the year, but like
Yeah.
long term, like legacy wise, like oh he's gonna be like labeled the soft center who couldn't play back to back, you know. Also just that's about 15 games a year he's not playing. Like that's a
Yeah.
big difference. That's so crazy.
Yeah. I think what's more wild is that he meant it in good faith. Like, he totally meant it to make Sixers fans like, don't worry, guys. I'm not gonna play back to back, so I'm not injured in the playoffs. Like, it's kind of wild how he did it, and like also the way he did it so nonchalantly. I think what's even more crazy is that like not playing back to backs is something that a lot of stars do, and it's very like yeah, every team does it, but like no one ever admits it. You know, that's like if like Ben Simmons during his 76ers sit out was like, oh yeah, I don't have a back injury. I just want to leave the team. Like it's just wild. It's like an unspoken thing. Like everybody knows that you're doing this. It's just that like you're not saying it and you're trying to underplay it so that way it's not like outright obvious, but just to hop on a podcast and just like blab about it as if it's like a like, ooh, look at me. Aren't I smart for this?
Yeah, that's crazy. Also like 100K fine each time.
Yeah.
Like that. And not to mention like Paul George, I think is also not gonna be playing back to back. So that fine's gonna get up there pretty quick.
No, bro, for real. It's gonna be in the millions for sure. I think I I honestly think that the Sixers are just like a cursed team, bro. Like there's just no way they're like not. And then what's even more wild is that like even if he doesn't play back to backs, his injury, like he's so injury prone that like I don't think back to backs were the problem. I just think like he's just like he's basically falling apart because he's 7 feet two something, like you know, like agile center. So like I don't even think the back to back, like not playing back to backs is gonna help that much. I still think that come playoff time, him and Paul George are gonna be injured. And then it's and then at the end of the day, all it was just unnecessary drama, you know?
Yeah, like some of those injuries Joel Embiid has gotten are like freak injuries. Like he had that face issue last year where he couldn't blink one eye.
Yeah.
Like there's no sitting games out where it prevents that.
Yeah.
And just look at Kawhi, his policy of I'm sitting games out to like extend my career. He's always hurt still. It
Yeah.
really doesn't matter, you know. So just a waste.
Yeah. And speaking of Kawhi, he is also out indefinitely. No clue when he's gonna return. And not only that, but there's a lawsuit against the Clippers from a former staff member. And basically what it goes over, we're not gonna go deep into it because I do like you should read the article for yourself. But basically what it's saying that he was brought on to as a way to lure Kawhi into the team. he evaluated Kawhi. He basically said Kawhi was not going to play basketball for 2 years if you want him fully healthy. He says that the Clippers heard that news and basically fired him. How do you feel about this, Vaughn? What are your thoughts on this?
I'll say first of all, this is all allegedly.
Yeah, all allegedly.
To cover our law
Yeah.
tracks here. But that's wild. Like a Kawhi Lonzo treatment, like just sitting out doing nothing. I can see why Kawhi would not want that, and the Clippers would not want that, especially if they have their big grand opening of the new stadium this year. But what kind of injury or like treatment requires that much recovery time? That's like Lonzo was the first I ever heard about like this freak, like unidentifiable knee issue that left him like unable to walk upstairs at certain points. So the fact that Kawhi was like coming back like way too soon, like I can see why he's never fully recovered. If that was what was needed after all this time.
Yeah, if that was the case, everything makes sense. You know, the fact that like every season he misses more than half, every season he misses basically the entire first half sometimes. Like it will all make sense. But if it's also not true, then like it's still an anomaly on what's happening with Kawhi Leonard. So either way, there's so many questions that are just left unanswered because if it's true, then like what is the injury? Like what's bugging him? And if it's not true, then it's like what are they doing over there? Like are they just rushing him back constantly? Are they just like they never gave him the time to heal, and because of that, like now he's just like forever gonna be injury prone. His knees are basically like brisket, bro. Like it's kind of insane.
Right, because like he's out right now due to knee inflammation. And he didn't do anything all summer. He skipped the Olympics. He skipped training camp, preseason. He hasn't been doing basketball activities as far as we know.
Yeah.
And he's got knee inflammation from walking around. Like that's what does that?
No, for real. And not only that, but it's like, how do you even combat that? Like, yeah, Lonzo, like you could do a Lonzo thing and wait 2 years, but the fact that he's on the court right now is kind of luck. Like when he like kind of recovered and started feeling better, it was like even his camp was kind of saying like we're just playing it day by day. Like randomly he was able to move again, and now he's able to shoot, and now he's able to it was like every piece of Lonzo news we got was a surprise to his team as well. Whereas like, so even if Kawhi did, let's say, sit out that 2 years, who knows what would have been like if he would have ever been able to come back. And like,
the only thing that could save him is he's got to go to LeBron and ask what he's doing, like spending $1 million on his health, like cryotherapy and all this crazy stuff. Like, it's honestly amazing. This man, LeBron, is out here saying, "Yeah, I'm going to play 82 games." Like, remains to be seen, but I could definitely see it happening.
I don't know why
something like that.
I don't know why every player isn't doing that.
Right.
It's kind of wild. I mean, clearly it's working, bro. Like, has LeBron ever been out for like more than? Has LeBron ever sat out half a season? I don't think I've ever been like, oh shit, LeBron's going to be out for like 20 games, 14.
The most I remember is like he was out for like a month and a half the first time he arrived to LA. Because I always hear LA fans like, if LeBron was never injured, we could make playoffs, But that was like the one and only time I remember such a long stretch.
Yeah. It's like, it's wild.
Is it like a trade secret, like is Disney's head hidden, frozen in a vault? Like why literally no one else doing this?
No, for real. I mean, you watch that Netflix thing and he basically tells you his entire routine. And if like there's no way he's the only one in the league able to afford that. I mean, Aaron Gordon just got $100 million. Like No, like a lot of them can probably take care of themselves that well. It's just like I don't think any of them are as insane as LeBron. All right. Anything else you want to add before we move on to our tier list?
No, I think that's about it.
All right. So today we are doing an NBA team tier list. I know it's kind of not late, but only 2 games have been played for most teams, so our opinions won't change at all, I'm pretty sure. Oh, beautiful. We have finals. Basically, one East team, one West team who are going to be in the finals. Our contenders. These guys have a chance to go to the finals. But definitely will for sure at least make it to the Eastern Conference, Western Conference finals. Then we have playoffs. These are the teams who will make the playoffs, might even make a conference finals push, but that's probably as far as they'll go. Then we have play-ins. They might make it past the play-ins, they might be solidly in the play-ins, or they might be fighting for the play-ins. And then we have mid, where this team, they're fighting for the play-ins, and then even if they do get in, they're not getting past the play-ins. They're just mid. They're not going anywhere. And lastly, lottery pick. We're only allowed 3 teams in this category from each conference, and it is basically who is going to win that first overall draft, who is going to be fighting for their future rather than fighting for their current season. But yeah, but why don't you kick us off on with the Atlanta Hawks?
Ooh, I think as much as I'd like to put them in a lottery pick section, I think they might just be mid. I think they could
Mid.
be fighting for that play-in spot, but like that's where they live and die. Trae Young is still Trae Young. I know Dyson Daniels could be a very complimentary fit defensively, like probably more so than DeJounte Murray, because DeJounte Murray kind of like regressed defensively beside Trae Young. But if that's his specialty, he could help. They still got like lots of young wings, but I also don't like them against any actual playoff team matchup wise. So they're probably cooked in any like elimination game setting. I think they're caving, but that's like their best case scenario.
Yeah, I agree. I think mid is perfect for them. I mean, they have literally been like a straight up 500 team for like 3 seasons now. And even if they do make it into the play-ins, like I don't really see them winning a game at all. Um, Especially just like I'm gonna be honest, bro. I really do not see Trae Young staying on this team this year. I really do think he'll be traded midseason, and I could be proven wrong, but like, bro, this team is basically kind of almost at a blank slate.
Yeah, they're going through a rebuild with their star players still on the team.
Exactly.
That's like a Bradley Beal situation on the Wizards. It's hard to stomach. Um, I could see Trae Young requesting a trade.
I mean, they lost to the Bulls last year, bro. A Bulls without Lonzo in the play-ins, they lost. Like, I honestly, I don't see how losing Murray means that won't happen. They
I
did
could
get the
see
first overall pick, but
mm,
like, he's not looking.
he's the quietest, no one talking about first round pick in a long time.
Yeah,
Nobody
exactly.
cares. Um, I could see why the GM wants to hang on to Trae Young
Oh yeah, for sure.
because, like, it seems he's been waiting for a star point guard for a long time. He thought Dennis Schroeder would be it. Jeff Teague was an all star, but never more than that. He's finally got his like gem of a point guard here, and he doesn't want to let go. But if this franchise is going to grow, if Trae Young is going to grow, I think they just have to separate.
No, for sure. It's time. You got to commit to the rebuild. If I'm Atlanta, I'm committing to the rebuild. I'm not get Clint out of there, get Trae Young out of there. Like, they take too long to make these decisions,
Yeah.
and it's only
Um,
hurting them.
Even if they don't want to rebuild, get Clint out of there, man. It just doesn't make sense for him to be there anymore.
All right. Next, we have the Boston Celtics. This is a layup. They're going to the finals, bro. No one in the East is looking formidable. Maybe the Bucks if they had a better coaching staff, but they have Darvin Ham and and Doc Rivers. That is not a scary team whatsoever, bro. Like at all. So I think the Celtics, I mean, look at them. They literally broke the record for the most threes in their first game of the year, bro. Like, and everyone was hitting threes. It wasn't like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like, everyone was just shooting threes. It wasn't until they put the C squad in that they started missing. Like, it was actually insane.
Like, this is them without Porzingis. Like, they won a lot of those playoff games last year without Porzingis. They're going to do it in the regular season. There's a fire under Jason Tatum. Thank you, Steve Kerr, for lighting that. And Team USA for lighting the one under Jaylen Brown. It's crazy. Like, they look more motivated than last year somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And they're already comfortable with each other.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is a team that just keeps improving. All right, the Brooklyn Nets.
Lottery pick, easy. You got Ben Simmons in the starting lineup. It's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. A lot of these guys, I think, will probably be traded away because Cam Johnson is a 3-and-D. He doesn't belong on a rebuilding squad. He's like 27. He's pretty old.
Yeah.
And then Cam Thomas could be someone's sixth man. Everyone wants a good defensive big like Nicholas Claxton. Just a lot of guys that really don't belong here. Like, doesn't really match up with the rebuild timeline. Like Dennis Schroeder. Why is Dennis Schroeder there? Like, there's no reason to hold on to him to the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if they're bad now, they'll only get worse later without like quality like role players they got. At least it should be. Like, if they're making trades to make a playoff push, they're stupid.
Yeah. I knew their season was over when they tried to fight a fan in the tunnel. Like, it's wraps for them. It is a win that Ben Simmons is actually playing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure everyone thought he wasn't gonna play again this year. So I am surprised that he's playing so far. But you look at their roster and it kind of seems like it's like the opposite of like the Hawks, where it's like, yeah, they're in a nowhere state, but they still have Trae Young. It's like the Nets, they're in a nowhere state, no young prospects, a bunch of just random old heads. But like, so it's like, what are they doing? They're not gonna win games. They're not gonna like. They don't have anyone worth trading except for like probably Nick Claxton and Cameron Thomas. But like, that should have been a move you have already made. You should like. It kind of just seems like they're just like okay with plummeting. If I was Brooklyn, I would start trading pieces now, so that way rebuild starts. You're in the draft. You have a decent amount of picks. In the draft afterwards, you have a decent amount of picks. Pull a Thunder, pull a Utah, and just start hoarding picks, bro. Like, it's time to like just completely blow it all up and just hope you get your player of the future. You know, your SGA, your Chet, your anything like just your Walker. Like, just hope you can get a prospect that can just put some life in your team. Because right now, it's not fun basketball at all.
Bro, that man Nick Claxton got ejected game 1 of the season. Yeah, it doesn't really look like they're playing for anything. They deserve that lottery pick.
No, for real. If anything, if you don't get the first overall pick, it's wraps for your season that year too. All right, the Bulls. I'm gonna say I say mid. I don't think they're lottery quite yet. I think they definitely have the potential to be lottery if they decide to rebuild. But no Caruso, no DeRozan. You lost your two main guys while Lonzo was gone, and now you have Lonzo back. But it's like, is that enough? It wasn't enough before. Zach LaVine is still kind of like, is he gonna be a Bull this year, or is he getting traded? The only bright spot for the Bulls is probably Kobe White, who finally looks like the guy they thought they drafted years ago. Is it too little too late now? Because he is having an insane season so far, and he has shown bright spots last year, but now Lonzo's back, you know? So it's kind of like, what's going to happen with that? And yeah, I just think they're mid. They're probably going to get into play-ins, but they're probably just going to not make it any further than that.
It's funny because the Bulls are eternally mid. I think I will die of old age, and the Bulls will still be mid. It's not great to hear as a Bulls fan your GM in a press conference saying we're trying to be as competitive as possible. I can't remember if he said you still want to be contenders or not, but that's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, they're mid. Definition of mid.
Yeah, they're kind of right there along with the Hawks. I mean, your big three is basically a big one. And even then, like, who knows if Lonzo's going to stay healthy all year or if he's even going to be the same player he was. But when we, like, thought they had a chance to be, contenders, it kind of like all of them are either haven't lived up to that potential or just straight up gone. Vooch wasn't the player they thought they were going to get. Zach LaVine hasn't been the same in years since that insane season he had. DeMar, Caruso, gone. Lonzo, yet to be seen, but I wouldn't have my hopes too high. All right, Vaughn, you have the Clippers, your favorite team. The team you love so much.
Okay. We don't know if Kawhi is coming back this season, at least. They lost Paul George. James Harden is out here doinking free throws in overtime. I want to put them in lottery picks so bad, but I will put them in mid for now. We have 6 slots for lottery pick, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna
3
reserve
East, 3 West.
In the back of my mind. I'm gonna keep Clippers in lottery pick, but for now, I'll put them in mid. At the end, I might adjust. Some of these guys I feel like are playing for contract. Yeah. Norman Powell, Kevin Porter Jr. is on the team. I just learned. Like, they have enough guys to at least provide something around James Harden. So maybe they get a 10th spot if they're lucky. But realistically, I'm just thinking they're maybe 13th in the West.
Yeah. I want to say play-ins. I really do. But when I look at the West, I just see teams that can potentially be better than them, Like, the only teams I can actually see being worse than them is Portland, Utah, and Houston. And those are all lottery pick teams. Like, I honestly, like, every other team is probably going to be better than them. And then that's just because, like, yeah, Kawhi's out. No Paul George. Harden hasn't been the same since he joined the Clippers. Like, it's not looking like the team that we all thought could go to the finals or go to the Western Conference Finals. I really do want to say play-ins, but I think mid is a good spot for them for now. And then my actual favorite team this season, Charlotte. Okay, I'll be honest, dude. I don't think they're lottery pick this year. I think they're mid this year. LaMelo Ball is, no pun intended, balling out, dude. He is actually going insane. He looks healthy. Brandon Miller is improving. It is there are teams worse than them, and not only that, but they actually look like they can steal some games from other teams. Like they almost beat Atlanta, dude. Atlanta beat them like 5 points. There's no reason why Charlotte can't be on the same level as the Bulls and the Hawks. And I think if LaMelo Ball stays healthy and keeps performing the way he has been so far, which we all knew he could, like no one ever thought he was a bad player. It's just he was never on the court. And if he's staying healthy this year with that Steph Curry knee brace, bro, like that man might carry them to mid, which is funny to say out loud, carry to mid. But like he might even sneak them into like that 9th, 10 play-in spot where it's win or go home. Will they win that game? Who knows? But like I feel like that's their ceiling. And if you're a Hornets fan, that's probably music to your ears, dude. Because they've been bottom 3 for so long.
Yeah, like LaMelo has had one season where he made play-in, and I think he could do it again this year.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 guys on that team who can score 20 or average 20, be it LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and then Miles Bridges. And then Mark Williams is turning into a decent defender. So that's and then they got decent role players too, like Cody Martin. So it is enough to evolve from lottery pick to mid. I agree with you there. I thought I was going to sound crazy if I got this and say mid, but I'm glad we're on the same page here.
Yeah. And I was gonna say mid even before the season started. All it's doing is just justifying my logic. Because I do think there are teams worse than them, but not only that, but like as much as we were hating on him last year, he did improve a lot. And I just think Brandon Miller looks like he might actually help them to get maybe that 10th seeded spot to go into the play-ins. But I don't think they're going to go any further than that, low key. I think that's their ceiling, which is good since it has been years since they even sniffed postseason. All right, Vaughn, you have the Cavs.
Can you scroll up? I can't see the category. About what's about? Okay, contenders. They're a funny team because I think they're top 3 in the East, but I don't think they're quite contenders. I'll put them in playoffs. I just can't see them getting to the finals, realistically. They're the same team from last year, just with a different head coach, which I think could be beneficial for them. Like Kenny Atkinson was the coach of that very fun Nets team. He overachieved with them, and I think he can get them further in the playoffs than expected this year. But they're not beating the Celtics. They're not beating any team in the West that reaches the finals. I think they'd be very fortunate to even get to Eastern Conference Finals. But, there's a lot of luck in playoffs.
Yeah. I think honestly, playoffs is a great spot for them. I think they are gonna be like fighting, probably just fighting to see if they're gonna be home advantage or not. But I'll be honest, I don't even see this team getting to the conference finals. Just because it just seems like it's the same story over and over again, where they do good in the regular season, they get to that postseason, and then lights are too bright, and they just start kind of shooting themselves in the foot with bad decisions. I am excited to see. I think it was Garland who said like he has a chip on his shoulder this season, which is like exciting for any player to like, put a little oomph in their step. But right now, I feel like they're not really making improvements upon themselves. Like this could change and they could do something at the deadline, but like every year, it seems like they're just doing nothing to build upon what they have. And I feel like in today's NBA, where like the difference between first seed and second seed is how many home games you won or whatever. Like, you can't just like stay stagnant and just run it back. Like, even like, and we're kind of seeing that be proven with the team that's up next, which I will talk about that later. But like, it's just kind of obvious that like, if you want to succeed, you gotta constantly build upon what you have, and doing nothing just hurts them in the long run.
Yeah, like I think what brings them to contender status might require a pretty big trade, either involving Darius Garland or Jarrett Allen.
Yeah.
I think they're one really good wing player away from reaching that status. But like you said, they've been the same for a while now. Like last year, they added Max Strus, and this year they didn't really add anything other than the coach change, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. The Nuggets. I can't believe I got my teams back to back. And your team.
Right.
I'm getting all the teams. Nuggets, I'm gonna say contenders, and that's mostly because, bro, we just ragged on the Cavs for never building upon themselves. It's kind. I can't be biased and say like the Nuggets are going to the finals when they're doing the exact same thing. Um, it's not a coincidence, bro, that like we struggle to get not struggle, but like it's not a coincidence that like there's key weaknesses. Like everyone's pointing them out. We still have no backup center. We keep losing people instead of adding people. All we do is lose. We lose like at least 2 to 3 players every season since that win. Um, I still think they're contenders because you can't really count out Jokic and Murray. And even Aaron Gordon has been showing up for the team a lot. Like, we're still a solid team, and we can still probably go to the finals. But I just think, like, bro, the way we have been playing in the playoffs, the way this, like, we have no 3-point shooting, like, now it's kind of obvious. All you have to do is really just, like, how Jokic, and eventually he will get tired. Like, seeing him tired in that second round against the Timberwolves, all it did was prove that he's human and that it's possible. And like I feel like teams are starting to exploit our weaknesses a lot more.
Yeah, like if you think of the championship team, like at least 3 of the key rotational players are gone, be it Bruce Brown, even Jeff Green,
Yeah.
um, and of course KCP. And there's been all this time to like properly replace those players or at least get close, and it just hasn't been done. Like
Yeah.
Westbrook, you did add him, but like you said, now there's a shooting issue, and Westbrook doesn't help that.
No, he does not.
And now we get the bias of these few games that I've played, and Jokic himself said we have a shooting issue, can't make him consistently. I think last game he had a career high in threes. He hit 9 threes, Jokic did, and they still lost.
Yeah.
There's definitely some problems here. But Murray and Jokic are one of the best duos in the league,
Mm-hmm.
of course. And then I think certain key guys like a Michael Porter Jr., a Christian Brown, they can get it together and start hitting their 3-point shots a lot more. But there's probably just going to be longer stretches of rough patches, just because like the talent isn't there as it used to be, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're still solid contenders, but definitely not the favorites.
All right. You have the Rockets.
So I think they're mid. I don't think they're fighting for a lottery pick. I know there's a lot of young guys on that team, but they've been steadily improving. Like last year, I felt was a make it break it year for Jalen Green, and he showed out, and now he's got this huge extension.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Amen Thompson's still really young. All he really needs is a jump shot, maybe put on more weight. He'll also improve. Jabari Smith already improving. And then you already have your mix of vets, your Fred VanVleet, your Dylan Brooks, and Steven Adams. So there's a lot to like about this team. I think they'll just look more competitive than before, thankfully. Because I remember like 2 years ago when they were my wheel spin team. They were a disaster watch. And now they're actually pretty fun to watch.
Mhm.
So I think that they're on the right track, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make play in this year.
Yeah, I agree with mid for sure. Um, yeah, kind of the same with all your points. I think it's also helping that like they added some older players, and not only that, but their younger players are also starting to like mature. For the longest time, Houston Rockets basketball was just like AAU ball, like
Yeah.
just pull up, shoot a contested three, like try to dribble out your opponent. Whereas now, like it seems like they're finally starting to actually play professional ball. It's just more so, do they have the pieces to make that equal wins? And I think right now they still don't, but at least it's a better basketball being played. I mean, there were times where like players wouldn't even try to get a rebound,
Right.
like it is exciting to see where the team is headed. It's just more so, how can they build upon that, and will they build upon that?
I think if this team was in the East, they'd be a playoff team. But the
Mhm.
West is just so top to bottom competitive. It could edge them out, but they'll be decent enough for me.
All right, honey, stop. Wow, I really am getting everybody's teams. I have the Lakers. Honestly, I think they're playoffs. Like it's hard to argue not that they're not. I mean, even their rookies are looking solid this year. LeBron, like 40 something years old, going on to his 60s, and this man is still balling out. AD, um, looking like a strong big man like always. The only thing is, they could be contenders if like they have more pieces around them. But like I feel like right now they're a solid team. They're a playoff team. They If they don't match the Nuggets, they might even be able to make it to the conference finals. It just I don't really see them having the pieces to win like it all.
I hate. Okay, now I'm beginning to hate we're on the same page because we're just agreeing with each other. I agree. Lakers are a playoff team. um, JJ Redick is definitely an improvement over Darvin Ham. If only we're basing it on confidence levels. Like
Mhm.
JJ, when he's talking, I believe him. Darvin Ham sounded like he was talking out of his ass a lot. So at least on there, he can maximize some of his players. But I think if they do want to be contenders, they gotta make some trades. Get that man D'Lo out of there. He shows up like 1 or 2 games in playoffs, and it's garbage time for him.
Mhm.
Obviously, they could also just use more shooting. They could always use more shooting, and I know trading D'Lo sounds counterintuitive, but I think just more reliable shooting.
Yeah.
Because was it game one? I think they only hit like 5 threes the whole game, and they managed to win. Props to them for that, only hitting 5 threes and getting the W. But that's probably not going to work long term. So what's the GM's name? He's got to get cracking. At least one rotational player in a trade this year, and I think they'll be good.
No, for real. Like when I think of the Lakers, their starting five are the only impact players. like, and as a contending team, you gotta have a good bench. Like because that's like what wins those close games. That's what helps you win game sevens. Is like your bench can help pull through when those star players are tired. And the fact that like when I look at their roster and it's Vincent who like, bro, Gabe Vincent hasn't been the same since that Heat playoff run. Like Christie, like I don't know. You look at their like roster and there's like guys where you're like they could be good, but there's also guys who like you think is a good pickup, and then like it's just that Lakers curse where they just don't play as good. We were all hyped for Cam Reddish, and like we haven't seen him touch the floor and like all season and like most of preseason. So it's just like I feel like they need to really make an impact trade. Like that one kid, what's his name? Bronny Johnson or something? Get him out of here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But like, the rookie could Kent
It's pronounced Knight, I'm pretty sure. But everyone
Knight.
calls him
Okay.
Connect.
Yeah, because I see people call him Connect, but I knew that was wrong. So
Yeah. Like even the announcers are pronouncing it wrong, so it has me doubting. But I'm pretty sure he's pronounced it Knight.
Knight. Okay. Well, he's actually looking pretty solid. It's just more so he's a rookie, so you know.
I think worrying things is like last night's game. LeBron scored like 16 straight points in the last 3 minutes of that game.
Mhm.
Like, kudos to him, but he shouldn't have to do that. Because I watched Rui Hachimura, the only guy, try to take a shot. He took a contested mid-range. Why? And LeBron had words for him. That's going in the LeBron documentary.
Yeah,
I
no, for
already
real.
know that's coming. But like, I know he could pull through and get the team the W. But Rob Pelinka,
There should be
help
no
that man.
reason why we're in 2024 and LeBron is your second highest scoring player, bro. You know who was ahead of him? AD by 1 point. Like, they can be contenders. It's just more so, are they willing to make, like, it seems like they're making hindsight's 2020, but it really does seem like they're making all the wrong moves every time they make a move. And it's almost like, okay, you get good players, but do you get good players for your team?
Yeah, because like some of these guys could be good on other teams. They're just not the right fit here.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully, maybe the Bucks will help have us argue, but I doubt it because why don't you go ahead and rank them, Vaughn?
I would still put them. Oh, everything tells me to put it in contender. I don't see them even get into the finals though. I'm gonna put them playoffs.
I agree. God damn it.
Okay. They're so old of a team and it's beginning to show. Brook Lopez not scoring as well as he should. He's just on the downward trend. Chris Middleton is out again from ankle surgery.
Hmm.
He's like what 32, 33. Like he's not going to get any healthier. Um no matter what Dame and Giannis put up, the supporting cast have to show out. And they got guys like Pat Connaughton still.
Yeah.
And
Torian Prince.
Torian Prince, bro. That doesn't scream 2025 champion team. So unless they make like some crazy trade, if they fire Doc Rivers, they're stuck in playoff contention.
Yeah. I think it's easy to look at the Nuggets and the Bucks side by side and be like, oh, they both are teams with only two really, really good players and really no depth. But then you take a closer look at the Bucks and you're like, oh wait, at least the Nuggets have Michael Porter Jr., Chris Brown. The Bucks don't have like anyone else on their team who can be productive or helpful in not any way, because that's kind of harsh, but in a contender, win a chip, go to the finals kind of way. Brook Lopez, it was bound to happen. This man is old. Like,
He's like ancient in NBA terms, especially because he's a center.
yeah,
He's like 38. Like
yeah,
you don't see 38 starting caliber centers. You just don't.
yeah,
So honestly,
exactly.
shout out to Brook for lasting this long and being such a key rotational piece. But the Bucks have to look at themselves and say, how do we improve? So
Exactly.
Brook might be a trade candidate. Bobby Portis, I know a fan favorite, might be out of there.
I know, which is so sad because I like Bobby Portis,
Yeah, but
but like, yeah, I don't think like their starters would be bench players on mostly other teams. Like, I feel like I know coaching staff, but like the coaching staff doesn't help, bro. Like Doc Rivers, it wasn't a guy who could win a championship with Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, and Blake Griffin in their prime. I don't think he could do the same with an aging Brooke Lopez, an aging Dame Lillard, and Giannis, you know? And like it just seems like the Bucks are kind of like, what are we doing? Like make a trade, do something to shake up the team and put a breath of fresh air in them. But ever since they lost Holiday, it's kind of like what's going on? Where was that next step? Because they haven't. Where like there had to been a master plan, and the longer we watch this team, it's kind of showing like, oh, they didn't have a plan. They just shipped them out of there and was kind of like, okay, who has the what should we do next? And they all kind of just looked at each other like, oh, I thought you knew what we were gonna do next.
that sounds like a very accurate portrayal. I think their next move this year, I know Bucks fans are going to say it, was Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah.
replacing Malik Beasley in the rotation.
Mhm.
But then I looked at Gary Trent Jr. He's coming off his worst season from Toronto.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a lateral move with Malik Beasley. At least Malik Beasley was like one of the most efficient 3-point shooters. I don't know what Gary Trent really adds that's super different, considering like he was a good defender back when he was on the Trailblazers. He's not the
Yeah.
same.
All right. I have the Heat. Um, I have been an avid Heat optimist year in, year out, and every year they kind of just let me down. I'm going Plains.
I was going to say the same. Ugh.
And I'm not saying Plains. They're gonna get past the Plains. They're gonna they're gonna finish eighth, ninth, whatever, and then they're gonna win their games and they're gonna go to the playoffs. But like it kind of seems like it's not Heat basketball without a play and run. like like it's almost inevitable that they're gonna go to the play-ins, maybe even lose that first game, and keep you on the edge of your seat just for them to win win their next by a blowout. You know, like I don't know what to expect out of the Heat. Every time they do something, it's more like what was the idea behind that move? I mean, when they got Terry Rozier, I was kind of like, why? And now you look at them and they're kind of like, it's almost like, I don't know how to say it. It's almost like they're just trading out players with like, it's like, oh, you can copy my homework, but change it. And it's like they just change it just enough to where it's like, oh, that's a new face, but it's basically the same type of guy we had last year. And that's all their moves. It's just like replacing a guy they already had, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think every year they've played so far in the last 3 years have been them overachieving.
Mhm.
I think them getting past play-ins is overachieving, really. Only because if you didn't have your star player, you would be in that Hawks Bulls category of eternally mid. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking about Jimmy Butler being the star player. Their star player, some other people I've heard say this, is Eric Spoelstra, and I've only just now begun to believe it
Mhm.
because that man gets the most out of his players like no one else. There's no reason why they should have made the finals like 2 years ago. Um, I know they
Twice,
got,
bro.
yeah, twice. Um, if you look at their team last year, they weren't very good, but they still managed to get playoffs.
Mhm.
It seems like it's going to turn out the same way too this year. Um, they really shouldn't be in this spot, but you got to think Eric Spoelstra. That man is a genius in terms of basketball terms. Um, Yeah, they're healthier, it seems. You know, you got your Rozier, Jimmy Butler, Hero, Bam. Like, they're all very good players. You expect them to be very good. Um, but it's not enough, it seems. It's just not enough.
Mm,
Pat Riley's been sitting, cooking up ideas for trades. Heat fans have been jersey swapping players for a long time, and just nothing happens. Like, Tyler Hero is still on the team. He's always the
Duncan
first.
Robinson is still
Duncan
on.
Robinson. Like, there just needs to be a drastic change, I feel, and it just never happened, and I don't know if it ever will happen.
I will say, like, Jaime Jaquez, like, an awesome player.
Mhm.
Love watching him. Jovic, like, also really great player. Like, they had the young players. It's just more so like, why do you still have Kevin Love? Why do you still have Duncan Robinson? Why do you still have Thomas Bryant? It's like guys that, like, it kind of makes you wonder, like, what do they have over the Heat organization to make them keep them? Like, what blackmail do they have to where Duncan Robinson has yet to be traded?
Yeah, and there's a funny thing about all those players is sometimes they're a key part of the rotation, sometimes they're getting DNPs.
Yeah,
It's just an awkward spot for them to be in.
it's almost, yeah. I don't know what's going on with them. I just know they're gonna either finish 7th to 10th, they're gonna win their games, and they're gonna lose in the first round. Like, either that or maybe the second round. But, like, I just don't see them pulling off that magic anymore. And I've been so optimistic, but I think it's killing me on the inside. All right, Vaughn, you have Dallas.
I will put them in contender. Although I don't love Klay Thompson being there, he does potentially add 15 points or more on decent 3-point efficiency, which is what they needed in the finals last year.
Mm,
So I don't see them getting significantly worse because they lost like Derrick Jones Jr., like good defender, great defender, but I just think what Klay gives you outweighs that. I think I've said that in the past. Um, I think it'd be harder for myself to convince of the Mavericks only being a playoff contender versus finals contender because you still got most 90% of the same team last year. Tim Hardaway Jr. I said should be traded, and he got traded. He's no longer there. So I think they're in the right spot to put themselves in finals contention again. I don't think they're the lock in the West though. There's one team I'm more confident about, and we'll get to them later. But yeah, I still think contention status Mavericks is where I'm comfortable for them.
I unfortunately agree. Um, I was hoping you would say playoffs, and I would try to fight you to upgrade them to contenders. Yeah, dude. When you go and just, like, improve, with, like, say what you want, you can say Klay Thompson's washed, but, like, getting rid of Tim Hardaway Jr., getting Klay Thompson, like, they built upon what they already had, which is what contenders should do. You don't go to the finals and build upon yourself and then, like, be worse, you know? Like, sure, this Klay Thompson thing could be a waste of time, but at the end of the day, PJ Washington decided to unlock his potential there. Derek Lively is looking like a great player, like, and it's still Luca and Kyrie. Like those two alone can help them get to a conference finals and even maybe get them to a final appearance. But it's the fact that, like, their players are just, like, none of the names pop out to you, but yet all of them at some point will go off this season. And it's just like drawing from a hat. Like, we saw it all last year where PJ Washington out of nowhere decided to run a game, you know? And it's just kind of like Who knows? I do think, yeah, they're contenders. I also have someone else in mind for that final spot, mostly because I'm still a Mavs hater. Like, I still hate the Mavs. But, like, yeah, bro, it's hard to count them out after they, like, made an insane run and beat that Timberwolves team who looked unstoppable. All right, Pelicans.
Okay. I should put them play in, but I'm not. I'm gonna put them playoffs. I
Playoffs,
like
there
their
you
roster
go.
this year. I really like their roster this year. Um, I think the issue standing in their way, like once they're all healthy and everything, is they're gonna play CJ in the starting lineup. I think he's a perfect 6-man for them. Get that man Herb Jones and Trey Murphy in the starting lineup, and I think they'll flourish. I think the only thing stopping them is CJ McCollum, that trade, because they're paying him so much money. Like, oh, you
Mhm.
got to have him in the starting lineup? No. Move that man to the bench, and they'll be perfect. I think they'll realize that later this year. Um, but yeah, obviously they added DeJounte Murray. I was worried because they didn't have a center now that Jonas Valanciunas is gone. But now that Jonas Valanciunas is gone, I think their offense will just be better because that man shot way too much for being, you know, okay as a shooter. Like he shot a lot for a center. Um, but they have so many good pieces. Like let's not even consider your Brandon Ingram, your Zion combo. You got Jordan Hawkins, great shooter. Jose Alvarado is always going to be a great defender because he just plays with so much heart. Um, Daniel Tice always outdoes expectations. Like when he was on the Celtics, the Rockets, like I always forget that he can shoot and add value that way. Um, who else? I'm forgetting someone else, and I feel bad, but they do have a starting five plus a solid five off the bench, and I believe in them this year. Playoffs, it is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they did it last year. I feel like this year they improved. Um, I think the only thing that might stop them is like finding out that lineup a little too late.
Mhm.
Um, it's I think like coaching is the only thing stopping them from like getting into playoffs without having to go to the plans, and not in the sense that like bad coaching, but like more so like I feel like if you're the Pelicans, you kind of got to find out your lineup pretty quickly, or else you're just gonna be wasting precious games still tinkering with it. You know, you don't want to like be messing around with it by like All-Star break. You know, you want to find out your strengths and weaknesses pretty quickly, especially with the addition of DeJounte Murray, especially now that his hand is broken. You don't have as much time as everyone else. But yeah, like they went to the playoffs last year. They were that eighth-seeded team. I think honestly they could sneak into that seventh spot and automatically, or that sixth spot and automatically sneak in. Um, and if anything, if they go to the play-ins, I feel like they do have the potential to beat any team in the play-ins. It's more so like, are they going to get past that first, second round? I don't know yet, just because like they've been a team with like kind of like, oh, will they, won't they? It's also just more so Zion Williamson. I feel like the pressure's gone. Like that man, like because he was always injured and didn't live up to the hype, he can kind of play freely, and he has been. That man has just playing like it seems like he refound his passion for basketball without the media attention and scrutiny. So I feel like they have a solid chance of like just sneaking in at that 6 seed, maybe even winning their first playing game as a 7 seed.
Yeah. Like Zion, I know it's early, but like defensively, he's looked better.
Mm,
He kind of looks like the guy we expect him to be. It must be nice not having people on ESPN paid millions of dollars to call you fat to like hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I would be more confident too. Like, It's looking nice so far.
All right, New York Knicks. I'm gonna say playoffs. I I don't think they're necessarily any worse. I just think they just killed all their momentum. Um, I just think what they did was kind of dumb, but it wasn't like Timberwolves dumb where they got rid of like the face of the franchise. Um, sorry, Julius, you are not the face of New York. um, but honestly, I really like their team. Uh, I know it's only preseason, but like Cat is looking like a huge fit. It's looking like it might work out. My only concern, Mikal Bridges. That man, where is he? Because it's not looking so hot, and that's why I'm not saying contenders. Um, even though I, I for sure thought going into this episode I would be saying like, oh, they might be contenders, but like after that trade, I no longer think so. So I'm saying playoffs.
I think talent wise, they're better. I don't know if they'll gel better than last year, but on paper, I think they're contenders.
Mhm.
So I'm glad we finally disagree on something. Um, Worst comes to worst, their defense is worse. It's just because Cat obviously isn't as good a defender, or at least wouldn't slide his role over being a defender like an Isaiah Hartenstein. But they have Mitchell Robinson still, who is
Yeah.
known as a defensive center. So if they keep him, that's always in their back pocket. I think Mikal Bridges in a slow start is okay because it takes time to mesh. The only thing I worry about Mikal Bridges is his awful jump shot now. People are talking about it, but like, why did he do that? It just looks so ugly and it doesn't look smoother. Like Jason Tatum changed his jump shot and that looks smoother and it's working. Whoever was teaching Mikal Bridges, you have is the equivalent of fucking up your haircut. It's just it don't look right.
No. Yeah, it's looking rough. I think I think for me, I do see what you mean. I wanted to say contenders. It's just more so like I don't know. I just think that right now it just seems like it's they kind of just like are redoing not redoing everything, but it seems like they're kind of trading and moving pieces around that like necessarily no one thought they needed to do. Like I don't think anyone was thinking we need a big to space the floor. Like I think it's just it just seems to me they're making unnecessary moves. If that makes sense.
I definitely would have been more excited for this team pre Julius Randle trade, but
Mm,
I I do like the cat fit because it gives Jalen Brunson more space. It takes pressure off Josh Hart, so he doesn't have to hit every three.
yeah.
Um, and I'm confident Mikal Bridges finds his way. But they also still have a guy like OG Anunoby. So even
Uh-huh.
if Cat isn't the best defender, at least their perimeter defense is very solid.
Yeah.
So if they can't figure out their offense, at least they got their defense.
All right. Well, I'll move them up to contenders because I wanted to say that originally. And also, like, I don't have enough to say they're not. So up they go. We have to compromise with only two people. We don't have a tiebreaker.
Right.
All right. Thunder. Where are they going?
They're finals. They
I
gotta be
agree.
finals.
I
I
agree.
I don't know. This coach, Mike Dagnall, has not been a head coach for very long, and he just has the sauce. He just knows. Um, he knows when to play his guys, what lineups to roll out. He just gives his rostered the best terms for success,
Mhm.
and he doesn't deserve all the credit. All of the guys have outperformed expectations, be it Jalen Williams, Chet. We had question marks about him last season, but like he's excellent. SGA, this might be MVP year for him. They just have to show out in the playoffs.
Mhm.
And last year was a very good test for them, and I think they'll only be better.
Yeah, bro. I mean, last year they swept the Pelicans. They got 2 games against the Mavs, who ended up going to the finals, and that was their first time in the playoffs with this core. Like, I can't imagine what they'll do. But not only that, but their pickups, bro, are like amazing. Caruso on the Thunder. Who would have thought that all you needed was like this average looking white guy who could play defense, bro? Like, it's looking like such a good fit. And then not only that, I know he's injured, but on paper, Hartenstein could help them so much. And it's just kind of like, bro, right now when I'm looking at the West, I just think they have the best chance to go to the finals.
Yeah, but
Especially with how much chemistry they have as well. Most of those guys have been there playing with each other their whole careers.
yeah, this shouldn't have happened, but somehow it did.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are.
And SGA is proving it's not a fluke season, which is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how he continues to like look better, but he does. Yeah,
All
they're going
right.
to the finals, bro. They're going to the finals.
We have our final spots all filled out. Next up, the Magic, which might be a shock to some people, but I think I kind of hinted at it how much I like this team last episode, which was a while ago now. But I'm putting the Magic into the playoffs. I don't think they're gonna get any worse. I don't think they're contenders at all. But Suggs just got an extension. Paolo is probably like you can say what I know he kind of seems overrated to some people. To me, I think he's perfectly rated. He doesn't get like that much media attention for a guy who was a first overall pick, who is like still killing it, who is still the main guy on that team. Uh yeah, I think they're playoffs bound. I think they can replicate that success. It's more so how well they can do that and if they'll actually might even be better. But who knows? I don't think they're playing, but they're definitely not contenders.
I was definitely stuck between playoff and play-ins. Only because I don't know if their shooting comes back. Like some guys like Franz Wagner last year, their shot from 3-point range was off. Paolo is not a 3-point shooter. But then
Mm-hmm.
I forgot KCP is in the lineup. He shoots threes and plays defense, and they were one of the top-rated defenses. So I'll agree with you that they're a playoff team in the East.
Especially in the East, bro. It's especially in the East. Not only that, but like, yeah, locking up Suggs. I mean, Anthony Black is still like, if he can repeat the improvements he had last season, then like, I honestly can see this team just repeating the same success. It's just more so like who will step up and like, if anyone does step up, like how much further will that push them?
I do think it's funny that they've always had too many guards, and they lost Markel Fultz. They're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
now they can play other guards more. No, they got KCP at shooting guard. It's
No,
like,
bro. I'm looking at their thing. They have Anthony Black, Caleb Houston or Houston. I don't know how you say that.
yeah.
KCP, Jalen Suggs, Mac McClung, Corey Joseph, Travelin Queen, Jet Howard, Gary Harris still for some reason, and Cole Anthony. I don't know why Gary Harris is still on that team. They don't even play him. Like it's kind of wild.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
I didn't know 2 years ago, and I still don't know now. But
Portland.
Lottery.
Yup.
They should be 15 or 14 in the West. I know they have some key players, be it Jeremy Grant. I would say Anthony Simons is past like a guy you would build around. He's young enough, but he is still young, you know.
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton's still there, but they got a lot of unproven young guys too, like Scoot. Scoot was very disappointing last year. Hopefully he improves this year. Shaden Sharp could take a jump. We don't know. But it's the West, and their schedule looks rough. So they're kind of cooked.
Yeah.
I would be honestly surprised if they even made play-ins. Like this is, I don't have that much faith in them.
I don't even think they'll come close to sniffing planes, bro. I think they're lottery all the way. I think the only thing that's exciting is like, will Scoot Henderson be better? Because the bar is pretty low. So can he pass that bar? This will prove if he was a bust or not. Ayton, can he bounce back? You know, you left the Suns. You want to prove, yeah, dominating. We have yet to see dominating. But yeah, I just think in the West with the roster that they have and just like the amount of question marks they have, it's just like you're bound to be 14th or 15th.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's nothing really to talk about there. They're
no,
pretty
which is
terrible.
sad. Just really sad. All right, the Pacers. I gotta say playoffs. I don't think they're contenders. Tyrese Halliburton, he is looking like the main guy more and more every year. It seems like he's the type of player who can make others better. It's more so how many of those players who made him magical are gonna stay magical, you know? Um, Guys like Neesmith, is he gonna have that same season where he was locking down all-star players on a contract that like doctors make more, you guys, and you also have like the guys who are already star players, like Siakam, Miles Turner, um, Mathurin is like, is he gonna keep improving? Is he gonna kind of have a slump? It's just more so kind of figuring out what they look like. I mean, they still have TJ McConnell, like, and they're just like a weird team where I feel like they are gonna go to the playoffs, but like at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they fall to the play-ins.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't blink twice if it was they reach play-ins and get to the playoffs that way.
Mm,
There's only so many slots, and some of these teams are going to get kicked to the play-ins. But regardless if they're in play-ins or not, I just think they will reach that playoff status. I don't want them to start making trades with some of their young guys because I think you look, they made Eastern Conference Finals last year.
mm,
Despite it being a sweep, there was really close games with that team that won the championship.
yeah,
I think there's a compulsion to hit that button and start making trades that gets rid of young guys like Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker, Obi Toppin. Like they could take jumps. Um, so I just like their mix, the roster as it is now.
yeah,
I think you have to believe that your vets will stay consistent. Your young guys, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton's not old. He's not a
no,
vet yet. Him, including the guys I mentioned, Andrew Nemhard, uh, even Aaron E. Smith, you got to believe that they'll either be the same or better this year,
yeah.
and just hope for the best. But yeah, that's a good spot for them.
All right, Vaughn, you have the Pistons.
I think they're mid. I don't think they're
Really?
lottery this year, Only because Monty Williams is out of there, bro. We were saying how good of a coach he was with the Suns. The Detroit Pistons era, the 1 year it lasted, was some of the worst coaching I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was kind of insane.
He was playing Killian Hayes as a starter over Jaden Ivey. Like, at least Jaden Ivey, streaky shooter as he is, he can shoot. Killian Hayes can do nothing. That man isn't even in the NBA anymore. That's how bad he is. So they got JB Bickerstaff from the Cavs. I don't love him as a coach, but he's definitely an improvement. We also won't see all bench lineups. Like that was like worse than some G League lineups last year. We're not going
Yeah.
to see that anymore. And they do have some additions, like a Tobias Harris, a Malik Beasley. They do add something. At least Cade will have some shooters to pass it out to.
Hmm.
Um, it's not a guarantee they even make play in, but they'll be much better, much closer than last year. I don't see any 26 game losing streaks this season for them.
No, for real. I'm gonna have to. I don't agree. I think they're still lottery pick. They're basically the island of misfits, bro. Uh, it's just the NBA scraps over there. There's some Celtic Shack level pictures on media day that were taken. I think yes, they're making the right steps and the right moves to not be that team that lost 26 games in a row. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to be poverty still, because they're just so nothing. It's insane. Um I think I could be proven wrong, because like there's some teams are way worse like than them for sure. That's like obvious. But I just think like, bro, when I think about Pistons basketball, all I think of is sadness and rejectness, and like just like the idea of just just the fact that like, yeah, they have Kate Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, but like they also have Bob Kittleman, bro. Like, who the fuck is that? You know, it's just like, I don't know. I just don't think it's enough to get them out of poverty,
Mm-hmm.
especially because like I don't, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Bulls and Hawks, as mid as they are still better than the Pistons. I think the only team in mid that aren't clearly better than them are the Hornets.
Yeah, like if you want to put them in lottery pick, we could do that. Like although they will be better, they're probably stuck in like 13th or 12th.
Yeah.
I'm all right with lottery pick.
All right, Sacramento. I'll be honest, bro. I'm a huge Sacramento like optimist. I think the improvements they're making are great. I think they're playing. I think they are not good enough in what the West. It's like an arms race in the West.
Mm-hmm.
And while play like teams like the Mavs and the Thunder and the Lakers are getting like nukes and AK-47s, the Kings are getting like hunting rifles and muskets. You know, and DeMar DeRozan is a great pickup. You know, they'll have two of the most clutch players in the league, but their defense is basically non-existent, bro. And like, yes, every game can be a shootout, and yes, they could win shootout games, but like in the like you that's just like that's too 50-50 to be a solid playoff team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with plan. Like they could make playoffs,
Oh, for
but
sure.
it's gonna have to be through the play-in.
Yeah.
Last year I think they were in the play-in and they just fell short. Uh, that DeMar addition could be the determining factor this year, but it's not going to be an easy year for them.
No.
For sure. I would love to see them in the playoffs again. They're a fun team, but really good luck to y'all.
No, for real. Good luck to the Kings for sure. All right, Vaughn, you have Phoenix.
I hate the Suns. I've not liked them this Kevin Durant era of the Suns. That's not even against Kevin Durant. I just really don't like the GM construction. But they do have a true point guard now in Tyus Jones. They do have a backup point guard in Monte Morris. I'll put them in fringe playoffs playing. I think they're going to be better than last year. Also, new coach. Who's their coach? Not Frank Vogel. Oh, Mike Budenholzer, who I think is a better regular season coach than a playoff coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll slide. I'll put them in playoffs. I don't see them reaching contending status. I know they're big three, like Booker, Beal, Kevin Durant. Like that's a tough trio to guard. But then even with your point guard additions, the rest of the roster is a little frail and weak. You still got Bol Bol. You still got Yusuf Nurkic. Josh Okogie. Like, yeah, they could serve their roles, but it's not helping this team quite as much as you would like. That's only
Yeah,
because, like, the money they're paying out to their big three doesn't leave them a lot of wiggle room. So I think they'll probably be in this big three era, they'll probably be in this playoff play-in mid push, especially in the later years. I
yeah,
don't ever see them becoming a contender.
I agree. I I'm not a hater, nor am I like a fan per se. I'm just kind of like it's hard to count out who the stars they have on that team, but at the same time, I feel like their time is almost up, and I think that Suns team that keeps losing in like the first and the second round is what they're gonna be for a while. I just think they're good enough to get themselves into the playoffs, and they're good enough to maybe win the first round. But I don't think they're good enough to win a conference finals or even depending on who they're matching up, I can see them losing in that second round multiple times, kind of like the 76ers. I feel like, to me, the Phoenix are the 76ers of the West. Great names, great players, but just can never get it done because, like, it's only those great names, great players. All right. I have the Spurs. I don't want to be a part of that Wemby hype, but the more I think about the Spurs, the more I want to say play-ins. But to calm myself down, I'm going to say mid, and maybe you can bump them up to play-ins or bump them down the lottery pick, whatever you want. But I just think they're a mid team. I think they're good enough to not be that lottery pick, awful San Antonio team that was just had no offense, no ball movement. But I think they're not going to be good enough to sneak into the play-ins. And if they do, they're going to be a 10 seed team who loses in that win or go home game.
I think they're mid only because I think they max out at 11. I think them being 11 is good for them because that's already an improvement from last year, like
Yeah.
significantly.
Yeah.
I think any Spurs fan hoping for playing is a little optimistic, and I think if they're expecting a lottery pick, a little pessimistic.
Yeah.
I think they're better than at least 4 teams in the West,
Mm-hmm.
just because they look a lot more fluid. Wemby, beginning of year Wemby compared to beginning of year this year Wemby is already a vastly different player. He could even take wild jumps throughout the year, like last year. All-Star break Wemby was different, so that could be a whole nother beast. That could be approaching. But But yeah, this feels like a good spot for them.
Yeah. I think unfortunately people do think they're gonna be a playing team. I mean, people thought last year they're gonna be a playing team. So I do think there are way more Spurs optimists than there are pessimists or realists. But like, don't get your hopes up. Let's be honest. Just adding an old Chris Paul isn't enough to get you guys in the play-ins, especially in the Western Conference where like teams were separated by like half a game. All right, the Sixers. I think it's kind of poetry that you got this team.
Well, before the Joel Embiid announcing no back-to-backs, I would have had them. I maybe would have had them in contenders, maybe, but I think now they're a low playoff team. I definitely put them in playoffs, and they're making like 5 or 6 in the East, if not 7 in play-in.
Yeah.
Them sitting out means more time that has to adjust because a lot of this roster is new, but also a lot of this roster are made of old heads. Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry, like in a way they seem like the Suns. I think you said that before, but like, yeah, you got your star players, but the rest of the roster's a little frail, a little weak. I don't know in these stretches where there's no Joel Embiid, no Paul George, that Kelly Oubre and Tyrese Maxey are going to be a hold it down for you, which is why they may even fall in the play-in. But yeah, I really do feel like they're their own worst enemy, and I feel like they're lucky for me even putting them in playoffs, which is crazy because this really does feel like a make it break it year for Joel Embiid and the Sixers.
Oh, dude, first I want to say I do agree, but in a different way. I agree with playoffs, but not in the more pessimistic way that you said playoffs. I think if last year, like, I think it's just going to be the same thing as last year. I think they might have to go to the play-ins and fight for their way in to the play-ins, but I think that's mostly because of the fact that Joel Embiid and Paul George are both doing no back-to-backs. And even if they do no back-to-backs, I think they're still going to get injured, bro. Like, let's be so honest. I don't think that will help as much as people think it will. So I honestly think they are going to be playoffs, but like more so in a way that they're going to have to win that, 7-8 game to get into it. And I think they will. And I think they might, bro, I'll be honest, they're going to lose in the second round. And if they don't blow it up, I don't know what they're doing. I feel like this has to be the last year of the 76ers running this Joel Embiid and co that they've been doing since like 2016.
Yeah, because like any point after this point, I feel like at least Joel Embiid is MVP caliber right now, but he's also injury prone.
Yeah.
He has value because of that MVP caliber, and it's just diminishing returns for each year you retain him. So if you're Sixers, this has to be the last go.
Yeah. All right. I have the Raptors. Bro, my opinion, they're a lottery pick.
Yeah, okay. Because last year, at least they started with a Pascal Siakam
And
OG Anunoby.
Yeah.
They didn't add anything. They're just a worse team.
I mean, when you have Total up there basically saying, like, don't expect anything, like, I don't know, bro. Their rosters, and, like, in hindsight, should be good when you look at the Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Bruce Brown, Quickly, and Portal. But then you think, oh, wait, that is all they have. That's a starting five. The rest is like, who? Like, the only guy when I look at that roster and I think of like, oh, they might be able to do something there is Grady Dick if they actually keep him the whole year instead of having him go up and down. And maybe. No, that's it. I can't even know. I think Grady Dick is the only other person who might have a bright future on that team.
Yeah, I don't even know who like their rookie is this year, or if they even have one.
Yeah, no clue.
Yeah, they're done for.
It's sad. It really is. What a downfall from winning it all to lottery pick in the span of 6 years. No, not even 5 years.
Yeah, it's honestly like a monkey paw moment, like chip, but poverty or mid is the best you're getting from this team for years to come.
Yeah. All right, Vaughn, you have the Jazz.
Hot lottery pick. I think they're
Yeah.
bottom two of the West. I always say they're gonna make trades, get some draft picks for like a Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson. They never do. I don't know what to expect differently. Like there's nothing to improve the roster, even if they do make trades, but they should be bad. They don't want to be good this year.
Yeah, I agree. Last year was a chance for Markkinen to prove that he is the guy that the Jazz want and can build around. Even though he didn't have a bad season, he had a very solid season, but it was nothing like that season he had 2 years ago, where it was looking like the light at the end of the tunnel for the Jazz. Um, yeah, lottery pick. I mean, it's hard to argue that they're not going to be a lottery pick. All right, I have the Warriors mid. Mid. I honestly, bro, if you're a Warriors fan and you think you can make the plains, you are delusional. Draymond Green had a tech in the first game of the season, bro. The first game of the season, and he already got a tech. Um, I think okay, real honestly though, without the theatrics, I think if they wanted to, they could make the plans, but I don't think they're getting out of the plans, and that's why I put them in mid. Because I think honestly, they might win that 9-10th game. They might lose that 7-8th game. But whatever they do, I honestly think they cannot get out of the plans. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of looking like a team where you're kind of like, oh, this is not the team who won multiple chips, secretly made it to the finals.
Uh,
Beat the Kings in 7. It seems like every year they're more so losing pieces than really gaining pieces. Um, yeah, I don't know. They're just looking kind of boring, and it's looking like the Curry show and nothing else. Like Draymond is not the guy that I would want second in command if I'm the Warriors.
if Draymond was second in command, it would have needed him an off-season visit to like a monastery where he learns inner peace. That's the only way I would believe him. Them going to the playoffs with Draymond in second. Yeah, game one was not very promising. Honestly, kind of frustrating now that I'm a Warriors fan, thanks to our spin the wheel. Um, like yeah, Kaminga could be a 20-point scorer. Podzemski, unlikely, but maybe. There's enough guys there like Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton, Kevon Looney's still on the roster. There's enough there that they could get in to play in. But
Yeah.
if they ever had any hopes of getting to playoffs, they would need that 7-8 play-in spot, which they're not good enough to get. They'd be a 9 or a 10, and they can't win 2 elimination games. There's just no confidence in them. Also, Steve Kerr's historically in recent years, his lineups have been questionable, at least for me. He's like the opposite of Eric Spoelstra. He's kind of hindering his players and he is uplifting them.
Mhm.
Example, Kaminga last year, he had to request a trade to get minutes. And look, he started getting playing time. He was really good. He was very promising as a player. He just doesn't see the full strengths of his roster, which is kind of frustrating. And that's why they're perpetually either playing or miss playing completely. Like, this
Mhm.
is exactly what mid is.
Yeah, I I think this is a chance to prove me a Steve Kerr hater to see if he actually is a good coach or not. And and I am willing, bro. Prediction on the board right now. The Warriors are gonna have a harder time to justify keeping Steve Kerr after this season, bro. I think Warriors fans are gonna actually, for once, call for Steve Kerr to be fired. I think this is a year where people finally realize the fraud that he is.
Bro, yeah, like Team USA, I think was very eye opening for some people because not playing the only guy who made an All NBA first team in Jason Tatum, like no minutes at all at certain points, was kind of nuts.
Yeah,
Like,
bro.
and now you're seeing what he's doing. I think put this on the board. Jason Tatum might average a career high in assists this season.
Oh
There's just
shit.
a new level to his game that I saw in the finals. He couldn't shoot, so he found different ways to contribute. In Team USA, he's like, I can do anything the coach asked me, and it was sitting on the bench, I guess. And now I'm seeing it put to practice. He fixed his 3-pointer, his 3-point form, and he's got these guys he trusts more than ever. Yeah, he's dishing them out. He's dishing out those assists. He's going crazy. And thank you, Steve Kerr, for that. I just had to say that again, man.
Her heat. I forgot Eugene. I didn't even remember this. I thought the prediction board was completely blank. Eugene does have a prediction up here, and I don't even think he knows he said this. Lakers back-to-back NBA Cup. As it was the only prediction up until this episode. That's so funny. What a range of predictions. We have Lakers back-to-back, Jason Tatum career high in assists, and Angel Steve Kerr will get some heat. Yeah, I think this is the season where people start calling him out, calling for a job. I think this is it. I think this is the year people open their eyes. Okay. One, you have the Wizards, which I'm starting to regret moving the Pistons down.
Yeah, I got to put him in lottery.
I think, should we move the Pistons back up to mid then?
Wait, we got 6 teams, right?
Oh, true,
okay.
true. We have 6 teams. You're right.
Yeah, Wizards, like Jordan Poole might improve. I mean, so far he kind of looks better, but just bad. They're just not a good team still. If you're an NBA player, you don't want to be on the Wizards right now. Because you already know shot chuckers like Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma are giving you zero opportunity to showcase yourself as an NBA player. I feel bad for Bilal Coulibaly. We'll never know how good or bad he is because he's never going to get the shot.
Yeah, I'm expecting generational bad shots being taken this year. I'm talking shots that would make you go like would never be forgotten. Um, as much as I want for a Kuzma comeback, like everyone thought would have happened in the beginning of the season last year, I think all hopes are gone. Kuzma shot 3 for 16 against the Cavs. That's an 18% field goal percentage.
Get yourself a layup, bro. What are you doing? I know like 90% of those were jump shots.
2 for 6 from the 3. Like the fact that he attempted 6 3-pointers, like why? Yeah, I just think it's sad. And then you have Sar, who people were already kind of like iffy on as a rookie, which like no hate to him, like at all, because he is a rookie. He might be bad. He might not. He might be good. Who knows? But like, just you're gonna be the worst team in all of the NBA again this year. I don't see it going any other way.
It's funny. Jonas Valanciunas, I think, will average more points off the bench than Alex Sarr starting. Honestly, maybe points and rebounds, but Valanciunas, not a great rebounder, but I don't have faith in Alex Sarr as he is now. He could
Mhm.
improve later. He is a rookie, but preseason looked bad. Summer league looked bad.
Summer League, yeah.
It's doom and gloom out there.
So yeah, no, I take it back. The worst team in the season last year was the Pistons by one loss. I think Wizards. The title is yours. The throne is yours. Okay, we're down. We're at the finish line. Vaughn, you have. Do I have the Grizzlies?
Yeah, I said I just had Wizards.
Okay, I have the Grizzlies. I think they're playoffs. I would say contenders, but like I am not bold enough to say that. I've had a lot of bad takes on this show, and I have made bold statements before that have bitten me in the ass. Pelicans dynasty, my very first awful take, which might still happen. There's still a chance for the Pelicans dynasty to come through,
Is
but
that offer available throughout your lifetime? Because it's got to be. This is the
yeah,
only way.
yeah. If I'm 65 and the Pelicans are a dynasty, I still win. But yeah, I think the Grizzlies with John Morant back, they were injury ridden last year. I just think there is some hope for playoffs this year. I mean, when he returned last year, they shot up in the standings. Like it was insane how quickly they rose in the standings last year. Yeah, playoffs. I don't think there's too much to say about the Grizzlies.
I think worst case scenario, they're in the play-ins, but they still make playoffs. Like
Yeah,
we saw the core of Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson Jr., and John Morant be a top 2 seed in the West before. They can do that again. Like Marcus Smart, Zach Edey, looks exactly like the fit of a guy they want on that roster.
yeah, great pickup for them.
And then like rotational players, GG Jackson was like the only bright spot on that G League team last year. The Grizzlies had. Once he gets back from I think injury, yeah, they can do it. They can make playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, they might even have a solid run. It's just more so if they will or not. We have yet to see. And then Vaughn, you have the last pick of this year's tier list with the Timberwolves. Where are you putting them?
They're a playoff team. Before the trade, I might have even said contenders. They
Before
had
the trade,
all the momentum in the world last year, and they just shot it in the head with this trade.
put it down like Old Yeller. They definitely were gonna be contenders before the trade was made. I was gonna fight for contenders. But yeah, you're right. They killed the momentum like crazy.
Like you've still got very good players, but now, like you said with the Knicks, they're starting over, and I think I'm more worried for them because they don't have the luxury of being in the Eastern Conference. It's already kind of looking like a slow start for Julius Randle. Bro, I'm seeing this man bicker with Rudy Gobert on the court. Oh, like they'll have to smooth that over. I think Anthony Edwards will work very well with Julius Randle. It's always going to be a question: will Julius work well with Rudy Gobert? It's going to hang over their heads all year long. But they are good enough to reach playoffs. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, DiVincenzo looks great for them. Yeah, literally the only thing stopping me from saying contenders is the fact that Julius Randle and Gobert are on the same team. 2024's basketball scheme's worst nightmare. It's not even that. No, I am a Gobert hater, but I think more so it's just the fact that it was already looking shaky for him with such a solid like lineup and strategy planned out. Now you're getting rid of what made him usable. You're getting rid of. You got rid of the guy who was making him seem actually solid. And now you're bringing in someone who kind of has trouble spacing the floor themselves and is notoriously streaky. And yeah, like you said, they're already arguing, bickering. Like, bro, Gobert, I think they are going to go to the playoffs because they still have solid pieces. In actuality, all they lost was Cat, which like is a huge loss, but they did get it back somewhat with Julius Randle, who is a decent player. Don't get me wrong at all. But like, I would be sitting here saying they're contenders if it wasn't for the fact that they got rid of Cat. The awful trade that just killed all the hype and momentum in Minnesota. All right. Looking at this tier list, Vaughn, is there anyone you want to move up or down?
I'm pretty satisfied with this.
Yeah. I mean, we agreed almost the entire tier list. And anytime we disagreed, it was like one tier.
It was like very gentlemanly, like, oh yes, you move it up, you move it down. Yeah, I'm very satisfied with this. I don't have any issues.
Yeah. So our finals, of course, is OKC and Celtics. I'm pretty confident in that. Low key, it's looking like an exciting season. How are you feeling, Vaughn? On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for this 24-25 season?
I'm very excited because the Celtics are going back to back. The first time since the Warriors did it. They'll call the first one a fluke, but the second one they will never be able to deny it.
Yeah. Fire, love that. Yeah, I'm also pretty excited. Second year of the NBA Cup. Teams are just looking more and more solid. Teams that like we haven't seen all the way yet are finally like Memphis. We haven't seen what Memphis actually looked like, you know? We never got to see what they looked like last year. And now they look even better, you might say, than they did that one year before they lost Ja Morant. And then there's also teams who I thought I would never see out of that poverty standings, like the Hornets. I never thought I would see them among mid.
It definitely feels like compared to last year, there are less true poverty teams because I think 90% of these teams are going to be at least competitive. There's just like some things you can't help. Like the Brooklyn Nets roster is bred and made to be poverty.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you are listening to the audio format, we are on all podcast platforms, so make sure you give us a 5 stars, leave a review. We're also on YouTube for that video format, so make sure you like and subscribe there. Let us know what we got wrong or right. Where would you put these teams? And then, of course, we're on all social media platforms at Spin the Rock for clips and episode updates. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next week.